All right, it's that time again. Welcome back to another podcast. It's episode 17, the Markets Podcast. Here we go. One more time, a ton to talk about this week. We were just discussing that it was a red week.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like it because
everything
just goes straight up, but it was actually a red
today.
week.
You know, today
Today was a bit of a sell-off. Yeah, we finally got legitimate weakness. It felt like, anyways, in NVIDIA for the first real, down day. Anyway, let me run through this real quick, and then we'll get into individual storylines here. Here's the S&P 500, as I was mentioning, 0.85. Just for the record, we're recording this Friday after the close, so happy Saturday. Hope you're enjoying your weekend. 0.85 for the S&P. NASDAQ, we'll jump over to the Qs real quick, a little bit worse off, 1.5%.
So we were up, 17 of 18 weeks, and it looks like you just mentioned that we had a red week. I can't believe it, but it didn't seem like that was true. Yeah. You mentioned to me about 5 minutes ago, and I was like, are you sure? You double check this before we actually go on and talk about it, because it doesn't seem too normal. But
no.
We talked about this the last couple podcasts, I feel like, and that was that I feel that a healthy pullback at some point is necessary, because everything just keeps going up, and that I feel like fuels more nervousness. So it's nice to sort of breathe a little bit. And even though the market went down today, I kind of feel pretty good about it. I bought some Apple on the open, and we'll talk about that. But yeah, nice to see the market pulling back a little bit. We had another crash. I don't know, are we going to call it this for Bitcoin? We had a nice little move down again today.
It's just wild.
The best part is now we can just go over to IBIT.
Yeah.
Me and Neil were talking about that, and it's here at Real Trading, we just released spot crypto, which is nice, spot Bitcoin, a few other things, but then as soon as we release that, then all of a sudden we have all these ETFs that we could just go over and trade. And I think that that's added a little bit to the floor of some of this. When the market crashes back in, there's a lot of traders, me, myself, and I, go over to these ETFs, and it's let's just buy some ETFs, and I feel like that props up the market, because now it's so easy for anybody to open up a chart and have a quick look and see some support or resistance level.
With crazy liquidity, too. When you get that flush out in Bitcoin, some of these ETFs have way more liquidity, obviously, than...
I saw 100,000 shares on the offer of IBIT today, just sitting there.
Crazy.
Got taken.
Crazy.
So much liquidity in this market right now.
What is the deal, though, with we make all-time highs on Bitcoin and then it falls $5,000 like that? I have an article.
What catalyst? What catalyst sends Bitcoin up and down these days? I mean, we had the Coinbase outage, sent it down. Yeah. We had Binance was out for a minute there.
I think people are getting stopped out.
That could be it. So they buy the all-time high.
There's so much volatility. They instantly are getting stopped out and get liquidated. It's nuts. Here's a weekly chart of NVIDIA, and I show you a weekly chart because we're already, look at the volume, first of all. This week was huge on volume.
Up on this chart.
The close, we're actually below the low here after the close. So this weekly candle is looking a little bit reversal-like, dare I say. It took what was the top here? $980 before we got something that resembled a possible, anyways, a reversal candle for NVIDIA. A couple interesting notes as far as NVIDIA is concerned.
Still green on the week.
Yes, whereas the market is not. This fine gentleman started the year at $12 billion. His shares.
Oh, that's right. I saw that.
His shares were worth $12 billion. They're now worth $80.
I didn't understand that math, because NVIDIA, I did the math. I thought NVIDIA was only up 239% year to date. But anyways, monster. I mean, that guy.
Jensen's winning.
Yeah, I know. And then I was going to say Lisa Su as well at AMD. What a week that she had there.
Unreal.
But you know what? I feel like this is the capital market, and I'm fine with that. I mean, these guys, we heard about Elon can't get paid. This guy's shares, he just got to sell them, so that's nice. We saw Jeff Bezos also selling the last little while. Yeah. Is that a sign, in your opinion? We're now going to have, you're going to have Jensen selling, we have Lisa Su selling. There's some insider sales happening right now throughout a lot of these tech names. Bezos has been very public in what he's been doing. So I don't know, Brendan, what do you think about some of these inside sales here?
I was having, we had a guest on the show on Friday, and I was having this exact conversation with him in the sense that, you and I sat here a couple weeks ago talking about the fact that there was $5 trillion that needed to come out of money markets and go back into equity markets or more riskier assets because of the interest rate cuts that are coming, it's not all going into NVIDIA. It's not all going into Apple or Microsoft or Google, but yes, we're seeing, you know, these CEO sells were at all-time highs, these stocks are at all-time highs, but it seems like there's still a lot of money coming into this market. Look at GE's chart, look at ANF's chart that we've talked about in the past.
Some of these things are...
It's quietly feeling like there's money going elsewhere at this point, though.
I feel like the more educated people get, maybe it's going into ETFs, things like that.
No, but stocks like GE, stocks like ANF that we've been looking at,
right,
and things like that. And we haven't been hearing about it.
Look, there's been major moves in many different names. We've even seen Carvana. I mean, look at that one, just a little name that's now taking out 52-week highs on earnings.
$85?
85 bucks. Got to $89 today, Carvana. So yeah, I know.
I thought it was going to zero.
There's a lot of names. When I saw that GE chart as well, if you come over to my screen, I don't know if a lot of you have noticed what's been happening in GE. They spun off GE Healthcare.
Crazy.
But this has been, I mean, what a monster move. You're still nowhere near on the weekly. This is, by the way, I put the RSI up here, 83. That doesn't look like an RSI. What the heck's it doing all the way up here right now? I don't know. But anyways, I'll have to figure that out, what I'm doing. But anyways, GE continues to make that march higher. Today we get NVO, some Novo Nordisk news again today, and this name just keeps on getting to the upside. Yeah, this is probably right, this RSI. I don't know why it's all over like this. We'll figure that out, but nice little move up for Novo Nordisk. Eli Lilly, another one of those names. And a name that we talked about the last couple of weeks, Caterpillar. Again, another big name going straight to the upside right now. ANF's the most interesting one, Brendan, because you and I scratched our head all last week.
Look at it.
And look at this, kablam, all the way back down. Is that something, kablam? From 140 down to 120 right there. On a report that wasn't that bad. It was actually only down like 3 or 4% on that day, but the next couple days starting to get hit again here on ANF. So the one thing I want to
sell, why not?
So I wrote this down. I actually did some work on NVIDIA, and we talked about this on the main show. So out of the last 3 years, they took the 12 largest up days and the 12 largest down days for NVIDIA alone. And actually the down days, so when we feel like today, it was like, wow, look at today. The down days average 14%, up days average 9% on the 12 biggest days.
How's that even?
No, I'm just saying, to me, I feel like that when there is some fear out there, like it's a down day. Okay, so why is it down? All right, did they miss earnings? Did they, you know, something about China, shipments or whatever? And then just come over here just real quickly and you'll see what I'm talking about. And I think today is a good example. Like this was a monster red day. Look at all these daily candles. You know, we don't have anything that looks like this. So a big red day, huge move to the downside here today. And of course, it looks a little bit more dramatic because it's a $900 stock. But today we topped out at $970, and then we closed the day at $870.
Unreal.
$100 straight to the downside, 10% from top to bottom on NVIDIA. It looks nasty, but I think it's healthy, and I want to buy more on this dip, but it's got to figure out where.
You were talking about nasty fills intraday on the stock today, and an extreme lack of liquidity.
And people were wondering if there's some stop hunting, and I actually think that I learned something myself today. Me and Brendan went and got that coffee. And thanks for that, Brendan. Yesterday I got roasted. We had a monster day, and there I was drinking $1 special coffee from 7-Eleven. And then you asked me if it was from Coffee Island. And then today we went and paid $4 for an Americano. You got a flat white, which is a little up there on that. It's funny because we went to Tim Hortons and you got the production staff coffees, and you said, look, 2 coffees here is the same as...
It was less.
Coffee Island.
It was less.
But yeah, we had that, and that was great coffee.
Speaking of Tim Hortons, have you seen QSR's chart?
I sold some QSRs a long time ago. No, Brendan, you want to make me so upset? I can just imagine how high up this name is as well. What if I got to get this RSI off this chart? But
hey, what is going on with that?
I don't know. I gotta figure that out. I'll get it off in a minute. But yeah, QSR, another monster name, and that's a Burger King, that's Popeye's Chicken, and that's Tim Hortons. Oh, another thing I want to talk about with NVIDIA before we go. Yeah. I actually noticed, and I did a little bit of research here. It's one of the more heavily institutionally owned.
I saw that note. Yeah.
Yeah. So they have on average, and again, I just pulled this. Anywhere between like 58 to 68% is some of the guesses on this one. Vanguard, BlackRock, FMR, big holders in that. When you go over and you look at a stock like Microsoft or Amazon, things like that that are much lower into the low 50s. Yeah. So I feel that a lot of these institutions, when they want to sell, they got blocks to sell.
Sure.
And I think that goes to that point about today. We were long in front of 900. I put a stop order. And I remember when it broke, I think it broke 700, and Neil got $700.30. And I was like, wow, that was like a pretty good fill there. And now today I had $3. So I was long at like 902 and I got out at 897. So it was a little more of a bleed than I had thought there. But I think that's interesting. I think that institutional thing is pretty interesting.
I actually saw a note that said Microsoft was, I mean, it depends on where you look these up, but Microsoft was 69.2%. And that was the next kind of comparable.
Yeah.
Microsoft's obviously the big dog right now on market cap. Side note, we finished the week, we finished Friday for NVIDIA, $300 billion away from Apple.
Oh, that was another point. Isn't that nuts?
It's almost 2. It's almost number 2.
But listen to this. Apple's, think about just, it's obvious though if you think about this, right? Because Apple had declining revenues, I think, for 4 straight quarters. Yeah. And I just wrote this down. This is cherry picking. In Q3 of 23, this is sort of when NVIDIA started to go, 5.9 billion in revenues. A year later, Q3 24, 18 billion in revenues. And we just saw the guide higher, 29 billion or 26 and a half, whatever it is. So when you look at that kind of math and you say, okay, a year ago, 6 billion revenues, a year later, triple that, I feel like it's pretty justified, honestly. I mean,
yeah, it is at this point, but I still think there's an argument to be made about the build out of these data centers.
Fix the RSI.
Amazing. It was in the wrong window. No, I was saying the build out is underway now of all of these data centers. What happens when it finishes, or they have enough capacity in data centers that they don't need X amount of chips to build said data centers, you know, like.
You think today was bad?
There's a timeline, potentially a timeline on this.
Wait till Jensen comes out and goes, oh guys, by the way, like, I don't know if he's gonna say this or not, but what if a Meta does cancel that big order, or they say, you know what, AMD filled it. I don't know, we went for the cheaper option and it's all good. They're not doing that now. I saw a note this morning that China was investing $27 billion to try to build out their own kind of foundries and things like that because they're getting peed off about not being able to get the high-powered chips because of the embargoes. And Biden yesterday mentioned that in the State of the Union. And then we do know, I mean, I saw President Trump, mentioning things about how he's friendly with Putin and all this kind of stuff in North Korea. And so that's another thing that I feel like we're kind of pushing down the road a little bit. The election, I mean, these debates that are going to happen and some of the issues that are going to come forward, I'm not sure they're great for technology. No. Because China's already, their economy is already heading to the downside right now. And if we get some more negative talk from the leaders of the United States into China, I'm a little nervous here that some of these Chinese companies potentially pull orders, even of some of these lower chips, and that would send a name like AMD and NVIDIA back down to life.
At some point, we get a retracement here, and it's a matter of when. This was kind of interesting. Shout out to Bespoke. If you haven't yet, go and follow them on X.
Yeah, they're a great follow.
It's kind of meaningless, but it kind of puts things in perspective. So the red line, if I'm reading this right, the red line is Tesla from COVID lows.
And I remember we had that example last podcast. I was like, remember how crazy Tesla was going?
But this is NVIDIA versus Tesla.
And Tesla's smoking it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So everybody thinks this move in NVIDIA is insane.
It's not.
It's not even.
Because you have Broadcom, you have ASML, you have Microsoft going parabolic from the bottom. We just talked about, Carvana, Brendan, was $3. It's $90 today.
And it was $3 and they said it was going to 0.
Yeah, that was Morgan Stanley. Shout out to Morgan Stanley on that one as well.
Unreal.
Intel 25 up to 50. There's been bubbles before.
Yeah.
Is this a bubble?
It kind of feels like it.
It kind of feels like it to me too.
Yeah. Let's talk Fed for a second here. I think it's worth revisiting what happened this week. We get 2 days of Powell in Washington. It didn't really amount to anything outside of what we had heard already.
I was a little disappointed.
It was kind of a nothing burger.
I heard you and Frank talking.
Yeah, coming up next week we get CPI, however. So the one thing that we can take, I think, from Wednesday and Thursday when he was talking was he just kept saying, we want more data, we want more data. If we're going to be comfortable in a rate cut, we need more data. We get non-farm payrolls on Friday. That's more data.
That's more data.
We get CPI coming out next Tuesday. That's more data. Non-farm payrolls for the first time in 3 months.
Would that be more data?
Was higher,
okay,
but it was down month over month. So data pointing in the direction of what they want to see to illuminate or kind of point towards these rate cuts coming. If CPI, here's my argument, if CPI comes out in the same direction, down next week, do we put, I mean, June's a lock, it seems like at this point.
I was just going to look at what the odds
Does May start to come back into the conversation if that happens?
Well, I mean, today, so obviously we're looking at March right here on the screen. It's 97% chance that we do absolutely nothing. May even, like you just mentioned there, I didn't even notice that. Now up to a quarter chance.
Yeah.
And with better numbers, yeah, probably coming through. And then definitely they think by the June number, we get a quarter point for sure by June. So to answer your question, yeah, if they're going to be more data dependent, today they get kind of two numbers, right? Unemployment goes a little bit higher than expected.
Yeah, 3.9.
Versus 3.7.
Yeah.
So I think that's good for the rate cut, right?
Yeah.
Because if
that's what they want to see.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I know. Look, I mean, I'm excited for it. The interesting thing that I took, I had the little Benzinga earpiece in my ear the whole time. I was waiting for him to say something dramatic, but like you mentioned, I don't think there was much said there. Yeah. The interesting point that I wrote down was, this was a little strange to me. And I thought there'd be more of a move in Bitcoin maybe on this, but the Fed officials say that their digital currencies are far off. I don't know what that means. I don't think the United States were ever doing anything digital.
No.
I think but that was an interesting point.
I remember him talking about them investigating the potential for actually creating something like that, but I don't think they ever actually started, did they?
I think the blockchains is such a better, easier form, cheaper form for some of the like clearing of stocks, transferring over of wealth. I mean, we see stocks like tokens like Ripple already doing that with Western Union. I actually think that there's a lot of base case uses for blockchain, and I think Bitcoin is becoming the gold standard, like kind of pun intended there, where everybody, and by the way, gold, what a great, I mean, come over to the screen here on gold trying to break out now.
Before we do that, just give me 1 sec. Just to visualize this for anyone who missed this jobs data on Friday. This is what we were talking about, 275 for February, 275 versus 200 was the forecast.
More jobs,
again, higher, but still down month over month. And then the positive was, if you remember, they revised January down.
But wait a second, if we have higher, if we had more jobs added than expected, but yet the unemployment rate goes higher,
up,
that means that basically those that are predicting what these numbers are coming out on seem to be a little whack.
Off their rocker?
You know, because
I think it points toward the amount of part-time versus full-time.
Seasonal in there.
And seasonal work, exactly. And you know, people coming out of the full-time labor market, part-time jobs going in, it is a wash at this point.
And I guess that's why you get the revisions and all that stuff that comes through.
But that was the positive. That January, if you remember, was a huge miss. I think they were forecasting 220, and it came out 320.
Didn't we have, wasn't it just last week we were talking about like October, November for rate cuts because the numbers were like that?
Yeah.
And then 1 week later we're bumping it up 4 months.
To June.
4 months is big. Like, I just feel like the market's a little bit, and then this just goes back over to gold. And I feel like with all this uncertainty, you are now getting gold finally breaking out on the weekly chart. It's finally taking out back to
Isn't that crazy?
August of 2020 highs right now.
Oh, really?
Finally starting to break out and go a little bit higher now. I really like this play on gold, and I think that this is what Bitcoin's becoming, a store of asset. And if you need to put your money somewhere and you're uncertain about the stock market, why not take some love in gold? But the thing is, money markets are still giving you 4 to 5%. So I don't know if I like holding gold, but a great job here. Michael Noss has been talking about this. I really like gold here to go a little bit higher, but I prefer the energy sector.
I saw, I was walking down our street the other day and I saw an advertisement on the window of a bank. 6%.
Yes.
For 1 year.
Yeah.
6%.
Right. So did you jump on that or?
No, but I think I might.
Yeah, I think that. So the other part about that is I was actually thinking about this and how to financially engineer your wealth, and that is that if you're looking to buy a new car, all of a sudden 5.99 interest rates. All you got to do, you got to have double the money because you pay them the 6% and put your money in at 6%,
wash.
And the next thing you know, it's kind of a wash.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, gotta pay taxes on that. But, you know, there's something there. But anyways, yeah, push that to the side for now. You know, yeah. So anyways, I think that's something to do, financial engineering. I have a would you rather question early.
Already.
No, but it's because it's kind of there.
I mean, we're 20 minutes in, so it's not really already.
It's not that early yet. Okay, so what about this? Would you rather invest at this stage of our life? So we're both like 25 years old, maybe at 20, something like that into there, that level, something like that, maybe a little bit less than that. Would you rather invest in a consistent dividend payer at this point of our life? Like, you know, Deere or whatever, there's lots of them, energy stocks, that's giving you a consistent dividend and it's been an aristocrat for a while, or...
Were we talking like 1%, 2%?
No, dividend, 3%.
Okay.
3 to 4%.
That's a good percent.
Yes. Yeah. Plus you get the equity exposure if it goes up. I don't have to explain this to you. Or would you rather invest in a growth stock? And I'm going to include growth names that are not dividend players. I'm going to include like a Google in that.
Right now, like today?
Yeah. Like we just talked.
Long? Going forward?
Like if you had a 10-year time frame, because you're going to be retired in about 10 years, so you got to get that money out.
Google.
Yeah, me too. I'm still not in that dividend. No. I have a lot of stocks that have dividends, but I still think we're not old enough yet.
They serve their purpose, but you have to be at that point in life, I think, to make it work.
I agree. Both growth.
Yeah. Let's talk Bitcoin. I mentioned we had an article to support that argument from early on, that it was people getting stopped out, and this was it. 70,000 all-time highs, and then 250 million get stopped out on the volatility. 250 million and 100 million in the past hour alone. People getting stopped out. And the idea here, if people are going, what the hell are we talking about? If people are selling at all-time highs, you get a $1,000, $2,000, I don't even know what that was, $5,000 move down.
Yeah.
That move alone, if you're buying an all-time high push on Bitcoin, that move alone is going to be enough volatility to get you liquidated in that position. Like that.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Remember, what happens when people are buying ETFs doesn't happen on the way out as well?
What do you mean?
Like, for example, they got to sell positions as well. If someone sells... Right. So, like, if you've bought $1 million worth of said ETF, and then all of a sudden, you're looking, you're like, oh my God, like, it's at 70,000, there's some sell pressure coming, I want to get out, and then you smash out on ARC-B or whatever, then they got to then divest as well. So they got to go over to Coinbase, smash out of that as well, creating these tumbles down. I just think it just means to me that investors are getting smarter with Bitcoin. They've seen this before. We've already been up here before, $68,000, $70,000, and we dropped down to 16,000. They don't want that to happen again. So they're liquidating their positions. But I mean, look what like we talk about the dramatic moves, and sure, there sure are. If you're going to learn anything from this, Brendan, I think we should put what we like to call stink bids out there, because this on this day here, this was the 4th, we went from, and you talked about 5,000, this is 69,000 all the way down to 59,000.
Wow.
That's $10,000 on that Coinbase withdrawal issue that managed to be settled extremely quickly.
But is that not the same thing? You know, people just getting liquidated on the way back.
No, I agree with you. But that's why when you're seeing those numbers, what I meant was like 250 million, 100 million. I don't know anymore if that really means anything. The whole crypto space is 2.3 trillion right now. But look how steady this is. It's like a really steady climb. I mean, I don't think if you're in Bitcoin, this kind of stuff scares you. But honestly, like, do you have $5 million in it where this kind of a move is that worrisome? I think you pick up these. We talked about buying some down here at 50,000 a couple weeks ago. That really held. That was the break, and I still think that, hey, that's the Alamo. I'm not getting out of anything until we do something at 50,000, and actually I want to buy more down there. So to me, that's the line in the sand, and I just want to say to everybody, if you're out there liquidating on all these little moves, as long as you're not paying too many fees, which I don't think we are anymore, I'm fine with that. I just don't liquidate at all. I still think Bitcoin goes higher. And we talked about this over the weekend. I think there's a chance for this to get above 70 because there is no iBid or anything like that happening. We'll get over 70,000 and deal with this on Monday. I like Bitcoin.
No, that was my next question exactly, is when will it get to a point where it can actually sustain those all-time highs? Instead of now 2 times in a row we get there and then just get smoked. When is it going to be able to make that all-time high and sustain that all-time high?
Well, it's made it.
It has, but I mean, not instantly dropped.
Well, how about that? Today it dropped down to 65 and it recovered all the way back to right now we're printing 69 again.
No, we were sitting here when that happened, and the bounce alone was unreal.
It's crazy.
Unreal.
I think this is the golden age for traders.
Yeah.
Because whether or not you like NVIDIA, whether or not you like Bitcoin, Rivian, Brendan, we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
Would you rather Cybertruck or
R2? But
the Cybertruck is so much bigger, right? Because R2 is what, $45,000? Cybertruck is $85,000.
They're not really comparable.
No.
It's the R2 is an SUV. It's not an actual.
I don't know. For me, I'm not like I don't want to be. I don't know. Like rolling around in the Cybertruck is a little too like fancy
bling,
time.
Bling.
Yeah, for me. The Rivian, I like the R1T or whatever. The first one is a beautiful car.
They really are. I have to say, I saw one in Toronto already, a Cybertruck.
Yeah.
And it was at night. It was dark out.
And did you think it was just the most ridiculous?
They're really shiny. Like
standing out.
Headlights were like reflecting off the thing. So, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't drive one. No chance.
Was that an easy trade on Rivian yesterday, do you think?
I was sitting here, Sean, I was sitting here. I had an order ready. I couldn't pull the trigger. I couldn't pull the trigger. I don't know.
No.
And here's why. The R2, I think, has a place and will do really well. RJ was tweeting today that they already have 65,000 reservations for the R2 on day 2.
But they're not going to be able to
Can they make them? And then the R3 and the R3X, yeah, that's nice icing on top of the cake. There's no timeline on those.
I know.
He said at some point down the road. That R3X,
they're pretty nice looking.
That R3X that they used in that presentation didn't even have an interior.
I know. I didn't even know that. When you brought that up today, I was like, oh my God, why is there no price? And you're like, dude, there's not even an inside.
Like there's nothing.
Right
but
now.
That's going to be the performance, quote unquote, performance version. And he's talking like.
This looks nice, no?
3 seconds, 0 to 60.
Put my screen on there.
I really like that.
I think this is pretty nice.
I think there's a real place for that R2.
So this is the R1S. So the R1T is the truck, of course. The R1S only at 75. That's probably pretty reasonable.
And people have to realize, like the R1S
R2
is
a little smaller.
It's not Escalade size, but it's bigger than a Range Rover.
I don't know. Do you like
those? It's a big truck.
Is the R1S? Oh, they all have that. I wasn't sure about those like oblong headlights.
Yeah, they all have that.
Yeah, I didn't realize they all have
headlights.
that. My wife likes this, huh? Okay, well, I'm probably in trouble. All right. The only thing is, and I actually sent her, because I say like I'm in trouble, you know? Like I sent her today, I was like, hey, check a look at this. They just released the R2, and if you want one, we got to put in a reservation. So she's going to be coming here because we got to go to the women's hockey game tonight. But $150 is the reservation, that's it.
Yeah, so I mean, 65.
Funny, Randy wanted to sell me his Fisker reservation. Imagine I would have paid for that. That thing.
Give those away now.
Can they even produce those cars?
Nope.
And do you want to buy a car that's not going to be around? I mean, what happens with warranty?
Exactly.
What happens with
service?
There has to be some sort of a deal there that if they go under.
I mean, they were talking to Nissan. We mentioned
right,
last
that's right.
week,
they have that.
Nothing came of that this week. You didn't hear anything more.
I saw someone in the chat. Someone said Fisker's dead. Yeah, Fisker's down to 73 cents again.
Like this thing's going to zero. Man.
Oh my God, what a disaster! Look at this stock, man.
Do you want to
$30 at one point?
Do you want to talk about this NYCB debacle? Or, I mean, it's not.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote down. I mean, you know,
they get some money.
Mnuchin comes in here.
Still goes down. It's red. It's red on the week.
I think you look at the KRE maybe.
This is the weekly chart.
Oh, you have it up? Okay.
Nope, my screen. There you go. This is the weekly chart for NYCB. That's ugly.
Look at the volume.
Really ugly.
I don't know. They got some. I still think they're shorts until they're not, but.
Yeah, same.
You know, I mean, if they get more liquidity coming in there, maybe they survive. I mean, on the daily chart, I'm not, you know, there's way more people out there that are going to know all about financial systems and what this means for the company itself. But if you just come over to the chart, this $4, we didn't really break it since we made this deal. You get up to that 437, but now you're kind of hovering underneath it. I would say the play probably is to be short, and then if you break above this 5, then you get out. But for me, I don't know really that much about it. I mean, JP Morgan didn't put their hand up to save these guys.
No.
So NYC
too much exposure to residential and commercial
real estate, and in New York, and it's not been healthy. And most of those buildings, as some of our viewers would know, sitting around empty. We have empty real estate here in Toronto as well, so you got to watch out for that.
A couple interesting things coming up next. Is it next week? No, it's 2 weeks. This SMCI and DEC going into the
those going to be monster trades.
500.
Or what?
What are we going to do with these when they go into the S&P 500? Is it like it has to be a sell? It has to be a sell. Yeah. I agree.
But you know what else was a sell the news event? I thought Uber was, and that was $66, $67, and now it's touching $80 today. I mean, Decker's Outdoor, again, like just what a move. A double up, basically, since that October low, all the way to 912. But again, like when those announcements are made, and it was made last week, so that's that tick up there to 938. I wonder if the juice is loose on these, and maybe it's just time for that.
Look at that chart.
I know. So this one back in October, let's go back to the October, let's just go back here, it's cherry pick, 233 back in October 30th.
What was that breakout even? Just the breakout alone.
Right here, that's, 400, 370, up to 1.1K. I don't know. They're interesting. So what you're going to see at the end, just for everybody talking about this, it'll be very, very exciting on the floor because traders will want to punch into this stock with about 10 minutes to go when we get those imbalances. We'll show it to you live on the show. And if SMCI is a huge buy imbalance, this thing could go a couple $100.
Yeah. I mean,
$100.
For anyone maybe listening and not seeing the visual or anything, just run through that trade for people.
That's 20%.
They get an understanding.
Yeah, so we're going to find that. We're going to find the amount of shares that are going to be added. It's probably there now. We'll do the research. We'll find it for you. So it's basically now all of the managers of the S&P 500 that mimic, because if you buy the SPY, it does not have SMCI in it. Yeah. So what that means is it's now going to have to. Some fund managers will front run this and start buying it up a little bit right now, but at the end of the day, if you're going to want to have a one-to-one relationship, this name is being added to the S&P 500 on the 18th. I think it was the 18th, right? Yeah. So whatever that price is on that closing price on that day is what's going to get booked into the S&P 500. So there's going to be a lot of traders trying to front run that, trying to get delta, trying to beat that number. But at the end of the day, when we see that imbalance come out on that locator and it comes 5 million shares to buy, and then people are going to be like, what is that?
It's a $1,400?
Yeah. Well, right now it's 11. Yeah, well, it was up there. It was 1.3. Now it's down to 1.13. But I feel like this could jump up a couple $100 because if I have shares to sell, I'm not doing that. I'm going to wait. Let the buy pressure come out. Yeah. But tricky, Brendan. It could come out as sell. Yeah. So that's why you have to wait for that number to drop. And Uber was not that eventful. The thing about it is there's arbitrage. Yeah. I remember when Tesla. Yeah, when Tesla was added, I think the price of that stock at that day was about 600. It came out, it was about 660, 670. Came out, I believe, a sell, and then once we saw that like it was selling off, then it flipped over, bang, went up like $100 immediately, and
it fell like $25. I think, or more.
More than that. I remember, I think I almost got stopped out.
It was in the last like minute and a half. It was just, I mean, a lot of people lost some lives.
So the idea,
lost some years off their lives.
Off their lives, yeah, probably me as well. So
taking that trade.
The thing about it too is that you're going to want to put in, just because you said me to break it down, market on close order to get that fill. So.
Exactly. All right, we'll touch on that, I'm sure, when we get to March 18th. You mentioned Apple. Let's talk about it because it wasn't a good week for Apple. Very red at the end of everything, almost 5%, Sean, downside for Apple today.
That's what we're talking about, baby.
But yeah, exactly. Look at where we are. That is the weekly chart right now, coming into big time levels here. 170, 165 has to be bought.
How many stocks are you going to find where the catalysts are actually quite outstanding, in my opinion, that are down well below the 200 period moving average? Apple's now down 12% year to date. And you're going to get an opportunity right here. I felt pretty smart buying it at the open at 169 or whatever it was. Ripped up to 173. I'm not getting out of it. I just feel like there's a point where you sit down, Brendan, and you put money to work. And honestly, this for Apple, I really like. I don't know, it's June 20-something. There's some sort of an AI event that they're coming through. And I just think that, hey, there's a super cycle coming. And that is, there's a lot, just look around. Ask people that you know that own iPhones. There's a lot of, I was going to say traders. There's a lot of consumers out there that are holding a 13, an iPhone 12, and in Dara's case, an iPhone 8. I think she was mentioning. I think she upgraded. I meant to ask her about that. She was thinking.
She did say that she had a new one coming.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, that's maybe more dramatic. But even 14s, 15s, there's going to be people that are upgrading. And generally around here, I know there's like 2-year cycles. So you have a 14, you're probably going to grab this 16. If there's not AI in it this time around, I think the market treats it poorly. But I'm excited for that June announcement. And I want to front run this stock because we do know that Berkshire is going to be buying this as well. All the ETFs, it's such a major component. And I do wonder about it just getting beat up a little bit because everyone's looking at the shiny thing in the room. And you asked me at the beginning of the show, when's NVIDIA passing Apple? You know, I think it has to break $1,040 or something like that.
Like, what was it, 300 billion or something? Or
yeah, and I think the number was if Apple stood here at 170, we had to break 1,000 on NVIDIA. So if that happens, it overtakes Apple. But who cares?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
That doesn't make any sense. Apple, the Vision Pro, should be something.
Yeah,
you know.
I want to talk about today specifically. You mentioned Berkshire.
Yep.
Was it? I mean, the market was what, 1.5 at the end of the day?
1.3, yeah.
NASDAQ, something like that?
I don't know what the S&P was. Down.
Down, exactly. And here's Apple. I mean, we did come back a little bit at the end of the day into the close on Friday, but here's Apple just going straight up all day.
What was the catalyst for that?
Like, no one's short this stock. So is Berkshire already in there buying up Apple after they just finished offloading a whole bunch of shares? And this comes on the back of, if anyone missed it as well, there was not great headlines this week. A nearly €2 billion fine coming through.
Yeah, for Spotify? What was that
from the EU. And then
hit the like, subscribe.
A 24% drop in Chinese iPhone sales.
That was the problem.
That's not good.
That's not good. But we know about that, though. The Chinese government has come in and said, like, yo, if you work for the government, we're not using Apple, we're using Huawei. So that's the end of that story. So obviously that hits it. And then there's a lot of, you know, I guess, I mean, I don't know, I'm not Chinese. I'm hopefully some of you that are listening to this know, but I feel like there's still a lot of pressure to sort of conform to what the government's doing over there. So maybe Apple is going to get sort of the bad look for a minute on iPhone sales over there. But you know what? I don't know. Like, is it a temporary thing? Like, the incremental, and I saw something again, if they sell 20 million iPhones, they're $1,000 each. That's $20 billion. Like, there's a lot of money that can be added just by a release of an iPhone.
And think about all the service side with the Vision Pro, all the new apps.
Vision Pro, I'm telling you, I mean, I think everybody knows this already. The Oculus kicks butt. I feel like the Vision Pro is there as well.
I like where you're going with. Go ahead.
No, Apple down 12% year to date is just too much.
Yeah, I agree.
It's just too much. NVIDIA's up 240%.
Yeah.
I just feel rotation's going to happen at some point. And Apple's not going to let anybody eat their lunch. Let's leave it at that. They've already dropped out of the electric car business. I think that was a good move.
Same. I completely agree.
You know, get into AI, man.
Only Tesla can make money.
Listen to this story about AI. You know the tabs I have open on my computer over there? Perplexity, Gemini.
Do you like it?
I do.
Yeah.
And chat. But why do I have 3? At some point, everyone's going to use one of them. And you know what? You see this? That's my son. He's playing hockey tonight. The iPhone and Apple, with everybody that's into their ecosystem, if they can produce something,
and they will,
that is, you know, equivalent.
Sean, when they come to any party, they're always the most noticeable one.
Kicking in that door
at the party. On that, I think officially made that decision already. This is pre-Apple AI, but I have trimmed all of my tabs down to Perplexity.
Right, but why?
Speed.
I notice it's way faster.
Effectiveness, and that might simply be, and we might be shooting ourselves in the foot because now everyone else is going to go. That might just simply be a traffic thing. I don't know.
The 10 million people that listen to our podcast?
Exactly. But ChatGPT, I feel like, is getting slower, not faster, and that's even with a paid account. Gemini is
really.
I don't even want to talk about Gemini because it's just a disaster in my opinion.
Shoot, I own a lot of Google.
So do I, but I mean maybe they figure
Google
it out.
was up today actually into a red tape, wasn't it?
It seems like every third query I put into Gemini,
it's like,
it comes back and says, sorry, I don't have enough information, I can't respond, or something like that.
That's why I switched over to Perplexity, because I even asked Perplexity about like NVIDIA's recent earnings just to test it out. It answers.
Great, yeah, it's great.
But Gemini will say, I'm not sure about the stock market or something like that.
I watched a really interesting podcast with the guy who's running, or CEO, I guess. It's not, I guess it's CEO. of Perplexity. And it was a group of former Google engineers that were working on Google's AI that left back in 2015 or 2016, I think it was, and started Perplexity way back then. And they've been working on it since then. And
I'm just reading now, OpenAI, they have people from OpenAI as well?
Or maybe it was OpenAI. No, I think, you know what, I think you're right. It's not Google, it's OpenAI. My apologies. No, you're right, it's OpenAI. But they're going directly after search. And he openly said that on this podcast. They're going directly after search and the competition behind search. And I made this point to Ramin and Fabian early on this afternoon. But if you go to Google and type in a very specific search, like what is the history of Volkswagen? It'll probably show you a summary of a website and Volkswagen's website.
And you still got to dig it yourself.
Exactly. You have to do the legwork then to go and read and find the actual information and find the paragraph that mentions all of the details you want to know. If you go to Perplexity and type in that exact same question, it'll do all of that work for you. So
and then link the, I notice it links the article
exactly,
as well.
the sources. So it's eliminating that step.
How quick is that?
I love it.
Like that is amazing.
I have it on my phone. They have a great app.
Yeah, I actually have it on my phone too. I have all three of those on my phone. You know? I sometimes even ask it like, hey, what are some questions I can ask Brendan on the podcast, you know? And on that note, you like fall back or spring ahead?
Oh God, neither.
I like fall back. If you get the extra hour, whenever you get the extra hour.
I don't know why, but they both mess me up for a week.
Fall back, you lose an hour? Now we lose an hour, right?
Forward.
Yeah, right.
Spring forward.
Yeah, it means like you lose an hour. But I prefer the fall back. You wake up.
I don't know why. Both of them mess me up for a week.
Really?
Yeah.
That's not possible though, Brendan.
No, but it feels like, I know it's only an hour of jet lag.
That's what I mean.
But it just,
people are don't at me, it is possible, but that seems weird.
I don't know why. I'm messed up for a week. Every time we go through.
The only thing I
don't know why they're still doing it.
Is it psychological because it's darker earlier or later, depending on?
I mean, this is the good one because we're getting more light at the end of the day, right? It's going to be.
But you're an early riser, maybe, so it'll be darker.
It's going to be dark.
I don't know.
I don't know. What about you?
Seems weird. Yeah, I always want to get that extra hour. So I'm just all about like sleeping in. So I'm not about that because I don't ever get to. But at least when it's fall back, I'm just trying to think, am I thinking about this right? So when I wake up then at 8 a.m. the next morning, it would actually only be 7, right? So then, yeah, okay, so I like the fall back. But I don't like either one of them.
No.
I thought there was rumors that we're getting rid of all of this.
Well, as far as I remember.
I think it's in Congress or something right now.
No, they put it on the table and they said they have
shelved it.
They have too many other things to do and they were putting on the shelf for
like immigration.
For an undetermined amount of time. They didn't even say on this date we'll revisit it. They just said it's not that important. But
it's not that important. It's not really that important. But.
The story that the Ontario government, our province or provincial government, said was if Quebec and New York State were on board, we're down.
We're down.
Yeah, but they have to get New York State on board, and that requires Washington.
I was saying that today. I mean, imagine like New York doesn't do it and we do it. It's like that's gonna make
it doesn't
sense.
Make sense. No.
You're ridiculous.
It's a 3-hour drive.
Anyways.
Yeah. All right. A few other interesting notes. I mean, we touched on Rivian. You want to talk about Tesla here? There was a funny article this morning that I was going to bring up again that I thought was hilarious. I had no idea this even happened, but during the Rivian event,
I know. What's up with that?
Tesla decides to have their own live stream.
Yeah, it's
just because.
Did Tesla crash Rivian's R2 launch party?
So it wasn't Elon.
Screen here.
Apparently it wasn't Elon.
Oh, it was Elon. Give me a break.
No, he wasn't on the actual stream. It was two executives from Tesla, but they were talking about this new revamped Model 3. And I mean, Tesla obviously has a much more ingrained and long-term following than Rivian does, but these numbers are not even comparable. So the Rivian launch event got 350,000 views. That's across both X and YouTube.
That seems low.
I scroll down here a little bit.
Does that seem low? Are you going to tell me that's low?
Tesla's live stream, on the other hand, I can't find it right now, but it was 2.4 million.
Right, okay, I was going to say, yeah, all right.
2.4 million.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, Elon has...
Dude, Rivian produces 56,000 cars a year.
But that just goes to show you, if we're trying to say, okay, when's the next EV company going to actually make it? that just goes to show you how far ahead Tesla is, in my opinion.
I also think that there's so many more people interested in the Model 3. You know, people are looking to buy Model 3s. People want to see what the revamp is all about. People really like Elon. And then the other caveat to that is, too, maybe people were thinking Elon would be on it. RJ's not, like yeah, right? Like, I don't really hear him any controversy. I feel like if I told you that Rivian's having an event and Tesla's at the same time, I would probably prefer the Tesla one. This was interesting because it's a new model for Rivian.
It was hyped up.
It was hyped up. I think Rivian has to be disappointed with that.
Big time.
Like almost 10x, like 7, 8x the viewership over there. But no, for me, I feel like Tesla got a little bit of bad news with that Gigafactory fire. I don't really know what was up with that. And apparently that's going to cause disruption for a week or two extra than they thought.
I saw today, actually, it wasn't Monday, but next week they said it's going to restart.
Right, but the fire was last Sunday.
Yeah, going into Monday.
So a whole week and a half?
They lost a week. But I think initially they thought it was going to potentially be 2 or 3 weeks. So from that
Why do you think Tesla's down so much? Like, we are well off, man. The 200 period moving average is 234. Yeah. Like 175, that's like a drop down there. That's $70 on $230.
Sharif's bids aren't big enough, I guess.
All right. Well, I don't know if anybody's bids are big enough. The reason why I say that is because, you know, Kathy's in there buying millions of shares.
And it's still going down.
So unless Sharif has bids of 100 million shares or something like that, and that might not even matter either.
Where are you buying?
I'm not. This is the one name that I'm not buying dips in, honestly. I'm not super excited.
I think we get 160. I think we get
Oh, I think you get, I was looking at 150 and saying no to that. I just, you know what? We talked about this, and oopsies, I don't want that. We talked about this. I'm going to look at it from a weekly standpoint. I think the catalysts are there, but I'd almost, is there really a need? Like, I was thinking about buying a Model 3 or something like that, and of course my kid is like, you have to get one with full self-drive. Mm-hmm. But I was like, of course he says that. Like, my kids are something else.
Only 15 grand, Sean, come on.
I know. Well, we'll go there, and then we'll go to Starbies, is what they call it. You know, and we'll get that foam. I know there's a problem. Oh, speak of the devil, what's up, Gia? How's it going? We're doing the podcast right now. You know what I'm talking about? Starbies. What is your drink from Starbucks? I want to hear it.
Is that like Arby's?
A what? With? Matcha Frappuccino with cold foam.
No one can hear.
But I'm just saying.
Sorry, say that again?
Matcha Frappuccino with cold foam.
Cold foam. What is cold foam?
Matcha cold foam, Brendan. How dare you? I don't know if you guys can hear her in the background.
Never mind my $7.
Hi, Lauren. Hi, Gia. Hi, my wife. There they are. They're on the podcast right now. Give a big wave. There it is. Hi, guys.
Party's in the house.
We're all going to the women's hockey tonight.
Again.
It's Toronto, Montreal.
They've been like.
And happy International Women's Day to everybody out there.
By the way.
Day
after.
Day after. No, but just going back here, look, Tesla, I just want to say about 150. The reason why I'm not sure about it is if you go all the way back into which is November of 2020, that's sort of the spot where we're at right now, man. That's 165 right here. I feel like one bad week, we're there next week. And then if you break that, man, then I just wonder, there's your little 150, that little baby wick. To me, these are the levels that we're worried about. We had some consolidation in here around 145. And look, we know it can get going, but I asked myself, what is the catalyst, Elon?
It's not cars.
What is the catalyst?
Yeah, it's not cars.
He'll answer that question.
He keeps posting these videos of Optimus wandering around their factory.
That's what I don't understand. It's like,
but Sean, like Bezos put $100 million into a robot company.
I know there's so many of them.
Elon's doing nothing but working on robots and Grok. I really think there's something there with the robot side of things coming in the relatively.
But how much revenue is a robot, though? I mean, I think
you're telling me if it's 15 grand, there isn't one in every house.
No, 15 grand. People can't afford that, though. Honestly,
when you buy a house,
yeah,
it's 15 grand on your mortgage.
A robot?
Yeah.
I just don't know if we're there.
You're not down with Optimus if it's 15 grand on your mortgage.
And actually, I was going to save this for the end. We had some questions.
For the record, I will be first in line.
Of course you would. If I have as much money as you had, man, I'd be buying.
Stop. Dude,
no kids.
It folds your laundry.
I should be quiet because my wife is over there. Okay, I was going to say.
It folds laundry.
Yeah. How many loads of laundry do we do a week? Yeah, 14. Exactly. But I was gonna say, I already solved that problem. I don't need to add more to that. But someone said last week, we have some questions from YouTube last week. And actually it says, all right, oh yeah, AI robotic nannies for Sean's house.
Yes.
What do I think and would I get it?
Hell yes.
My wife is literally saying yes. So yes, yes, we'll get it. We'll get
15 grand.
No, I'm not looking over there. I understand that that's what's gonna happen.
Never mind your R2.
Can it wash your car though? Can it wash the car?
If it can fold laundry, why can't it wash?
Take a dog for a walk.
Exactly.
Would you let your robot walk around with your dog out in the streets of Toronto? Let's be serious about this.
Maybe inside first.
We can't even get. So my whole thing is about. It's not about. You've seen iRobot before. Yeah. Sometimes these robots go a little haywire. The problem also is we can't even get like drones approved to fly. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm just not sure we're at the stage of like just mad robots rolling around here everywhere.
I do. I think it's coming. Okay. I think it's coming.
Well, if everyone buys one, then I think that is a good catalyst, Brendo.
No, but think about it from service.
I thought about it as manufacturing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For factories, for, I don't know, like just helping people in general that are in need of help.
Look, you know this because you're dealing with some HR. We've had, some sales switch around. We're debating getting rid of Ramin and Fabian. Yeah, see you guys. See you guys. They're out of here. No, but HR's we're out of here. They're like, we're out of here. Yeah. No. All right, sorry, we'll have to pay them more now. Why did I do that? Okay, no. Honestly, though, I was thinking that HR's is a problem for many companies, and I could see that a robot. They're coming to work every day. Yeah. They're not getting sick. No, but I say this for an example because if you're Amazon, logistics is so important. Yeah. They're basically, their lines are already so robotic. Now you're giving a corporation that doesn't have that ability, they could just buy a fleet of these robots that could potentially be so much more efficient in their warehouse.
Cleaning a building.
I like it.
But does HR need to be a physical being or a physical robot? Like, can't it just be an app?
Yeah.
Like, can't you just say, go use this chat bot or whatever, and that's our AI, or that's our HR now?
I just worry about Tesla. I mean, he said that story about wanting 25%. I don't know. We'll have to wait. The story's still out on Tesla.
Maybe the underlying story is here he's trying to get a better price for his.
Well, did you kick Tesla out of the Mag 7? You still think it's there? I still think I think it has a life.
It doesn't matter. Like,
I think it does matter for it because I think it's sentiment, right? So many people think so poorly of Tesla right now. All right. Still so many Teslas on the road. All right, let's get going. You got to go somewhere.
What do you got for trades here?
Oh yeah. All right. So coming next week, a big one. This is one that I've liked for a minute, and I think this is an AI name. I'm just going to get it going on the daily chart. I'm going to find the day that it's reporting. It is reporting after the close on Thursday.
What is that?
It's Adobe.
Hey-o.
So I wrote down Adobe. The 200 period moving average is right here, right now. We talked about some good corporations coming back into levels. We talked about Costco today as well. I'm not a big fan of Costco at a 51 PE. I like it. I still own Costco. I'm going to let it drop down a little bit more. But Adobe, pretty choppy here into earnings, right? We've actually talked about buying some Adobe, and it's been working out, but you get a big kick down here. And I actually have to find out what happened here on February 15th. A big move down in for Adobe, but it's falling into this 500 level. Now, what I think the trade could be for here, Adobe's only at right now a forward PE of 31, which is relatively cheap considering I believe this is a big AI name with all these. Part of the problem with Gemini was their generation of videos and pictures being way off. I think Adobe can help that. I feel that the more and more we get interested in production on YouTube and things like that, I think Adobe has a place in everybody's portfolio. I really like it. And I just said, maybe a lot of bangs happening there on the show.
So the production team is
they like Adobe.
Approving of your Adobe.
Yes, okay, so there's some. Yeah. I don't know if this is right. Okay, so they had year-over-year earnings growth of 17%. That's great. That's a good number. We'll take that. They have $7 billion in cash, Brendan. So I'm not, they could do a buyback. They could announce a small little buyback as well. And their thing too is 80. I wrote this down, and this was according to Benzinga. 86% institutional ownership
in Adobe.
So that's the numbers that I found.
That speaks for itself.
Maybe we're well off, but that's a good number.
That's huge.
So if that is true, and I'm going to find out more about that, and I'll talk about it on the main show next week. But I like Adobe into Thursday. Anything catch your eye for next week?
Yeah, I'm going to. I mentioned the other day, I mentioned earlier that I was sitting here the other day with an order to buy Rivian again, and did not.
Right.
Here's my approach going forward. I actually like this 1250. It got back above, closed above on the weekly candle. This is a weekly chart. This is that prior low, 1250. If we can hold 1250 from here, I'll get back in.
My only problem is, but that's does that fall into your never sell area? Because if it hits 1250, I'm saying if you fill that 1250, is there an out?
No, that'll be a trade.
That'll just be a trade.
Yeah, that'll be a trade. I want to see this thing get to a point where they can get some of these cars on the road and get more recognition, but it's going to come down to whether they can manufacture them, and that remains to be seen. You want to wrap this up? I think we should wrap this up.
I think we should wrap it up.
All right.
What's your one good thing?
Before we do, hit the like, hit the subscribe. Make sure you leave a comment. Ask
I want to see some more comments.
Leave more questions as well. We'll get to those next week. I'm going to a really cool event tonight. I'm actually really excited about that.
Okay, let's go.
All right, this is my one good thing. This is at a theater in the east end of the city. I apologize, I don't remember what the name of it is right now. That's a dude at a piano, but they have a full orchestra. They're playing Nirvana cover songs.
Oh, that's nice. The whole thing is all Nirvana?
The whole show is Nirvana cover songs. And
do they do other, is this week Nirvana, or is it every week?
Yeah, every week is like
that's fun.
Different theme. Yeah.
So if you're a fan of U2, you just go on, what's a candlelight? Okay, we'll look that up.
I'll grab the name of it next week.
We'll look it up for when they do Snoop Dogg. I'll have to go. They do Taylor Swift as well?
Oh, nice.
Okay, my wife knows about this place.
Guess where you're going next week?
Not that place. Okay.
Give me yours.
You know what my one good thing is?
All right.
Staying over at your grandparents' house when you're younger. Like my son tonight. No, isn't that one good thing? I mean, I think a lot of us have good memories of sleeping over at relatives' houses. No?
I have a hilarious memory of sleeping over at a relative's house. But
okay. But I think specifically, the reason why I say grandparents is because, like, my grandparents, for example, it would be 10 o'clock and they would sneak in, like, a little piece of chocolate or something. Or, no, but seriously, this is what they do. Grandparents spoil their grandkids.
You had a great childhood.
I had a fantastic. both my grandparents, same way. When I slept over at my Italian grandparents' house, that was a little more problem because then I had to work. Like I got to clean the dishes. I got to go mow the lawn the next day. Yeah, like this is part of it, right? This is where I kind of get, honestly, this is where I get the work ethic from. I felt so bad taking Monday off and I was just exhausted from the week. But then, you know, my other side, which is Canadian, Scottish, English side, yeah man, that was like, all right, we're going to, you know, you want to go to McDonald's tonight? So the reason why this is brought up to me is because we're going to the hockey game. My other son, Barron, has a hockey game tonight himself. Okay. So I can't be in two places at once, and I'm already down here. So my parents are coming to the game. They're going to pick him up, and then guess what? He's on the phone with them, and they're like, oh, you know, I'm hearing everything. Oh, Barron, what do you want to do for dinner? You want to grab some pizza? He's like, no, I want to grab some KFC. You know? And then he's talking, he's like, you know what? I'm going to get Grandma and Grandpa. We're going to watch like this movie or that movie. So it's just really nice because he doesn't have the influence of us. He can do whatever he wants. My one good thing, and I apologize for apparently my great childhood, is staying.
Don't apologize.
Well, I feel like you looked at me like I was speaking Spanish. These two over here are like, what is this guy even talking about?
I feel like calling my mom and being like, why didn't I ever get a chance to stay at my grandparents' house?
Well, now I feel bad. Now I'm bringing up like maybe past things here.
No, I stayed over at my uncle's place one time. He had a boat. We ended up sleeping on his boat. Yeah. And there was a huge storm. It's a long story.
Oh no!
There was a huge storm.
Bailing out in the morning.
Sean, the boat beside us sunk overnight.
Right. So like, lucky you're alive.
We woke up the next day, walked outside, and the boat was like on the bottom of the harbor.
Episode 17 is in the books, baby.
It was a good one. Cheers.
That's all right. Make sure you guys like and subscribe and do all that. Join us fresh Monday morning at 8:30.
Every day.
And we have the, oh, wasn't that pretty cool, the phone thing?
Yeah, I should have brought that up. But you can now, guys, watch the live show on Portrait. So any device on Portrait, there's a separate stream. Go check it out on YouTube. Every single day the market is open. On the main channel, not the second channel. There's a Portrait version of the live stream every single day going forward. There it is right there, Ramin with the clutch image. Episode 17 of the books. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you on Monday.
Another one. See ya.